What does a Big Mac and your fitness business have in common?
I don't know, Yusuf. What does it have in common?
Well, that's the question we are going to address today.
Welcome to the PropaneBusiness Podcast. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Yusuf.
We set up and built PropaneFitness.com into the profitable, semi-automated system that it is today, which allowed us to quit our corporate jobs and coach online full-time. More importantly, we were able to do this without a huge online audience or being glued to social media every day.
We're now ready to share everything from the failures we've made to the systems that now consistently generate hundreds of thousands in revenue. We help personal trainers, coaches, and gym owners do the same by avoiding the mistakes we've made and the best practices going forward.
Subscribe to this podcast to learn what we're doing and what we've done to build and scale PropaneFitness.com.
We'll be teaching you how to generate a steady flow of online clients, win at Facebook ads, automate your coaching systems, and to achieve financial independence.
That's exciting.
Johnny had to take a bottle cap out of his mouth to answer that.
I was going to shoot it at you, spit it at you, but I thought it's childish.
Thank you for sparing me that.
Honestly, anytime. So episode 3. So we've covered us, background, bit about Propane Fitness. If you haven't been on PropaneFitness.com, for God's sake, go on PropaneFitness.com.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Proof that we do what we're talking about doing. Or we have done and do what we've talked about dunning and doing. Yesterday, or not yesterday, in the previous episode, whenever you listen to this, we spoke about the break-even back-end model and why you need a core sales process in your business to even get it off the ground. But what happens after you've taken money from someone as an online coach? How do you ensure that you aren't sat up until 2 a.m. like we've been doing, delivering customized, built from scratch every single time services to clients, right? And so to bring it back to the Big Mac, consider the variation in every Big Mac or every McDonald's meal or every Starbucks coffee or every Subway sandwich or every Costa panini that you've ever eaten, right? They are all pretty much identical. And that isn't because the CEO, that isn't Ray Kroc, although he's passed away, rest in peace, but the CEO of McDonald's isn't sat in every McDonald's making every Big Mac to ensure it's exactly the same from his special recipe that he's not shared with everyone, right? Instead, he just built a process. He just built a system, built a process, built a recipe to deliver the same Big Mac every single time without deviation, without variation at all. And I think what most coaches falsely believe, again, super common when we speak to people, they think that their methodology, their system, the way they've been able to get results with clients offline is unique, it's special, and it's what makes them a coach. And in a way, they're right? Like that, they do have something unique, which is why they're good at what they're doing.
But it's the myth that having a standardized process is contrary to offering a good product or offering something that is and if, unless you're a massive coffee snob and you I refuse to lower myself to going to Costa or Starbucks, then if you're someone that's ever been to one of those places, the coffee's been good, or okay at least.
I'm a coffee snob. I'm a massitive coffee snob, and I love Costa and Starbucks.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad you could say that.
It's just people. I think people just like to be able to say it's not. It doesn't know the depth of flavor isn't there. Piss off.
It's
nice coffee, and you know what?
Of coffees.
Well, yeah, you know what the proof is that it's nice coffee. Look at their revenue. Look at the revenue of your small boutique coffee shop. Look at the revenue of Starbucks, and they'll go, "Oh, well, yeah, but the majority's wrong."
So that is interesting. So you're saying, as a customer, that the coffee is good. Now, Starbucks, their goal is not necessarily to make the best cup of coffee in the world. It's to make the same cup of coffee wherever you go in the world. But obviously, it has to be nice. If it's the same and shit, then no one's gonna drink it. But it's if you're in the Vatican, which I think they finally allowed a Starbucks there.
Really?
Or if you're in Tibet or Spain, you can go to a Starbucks and you're like, thank God, I know what I'm going to get here.
Yep.
And I like Starbucks, so I'm going to order it.
So I love... So when Yusuf and I go out for dinner... I've dropped my bottle cap. I'm going to pick it up. I was enjoying playing with it. When we go out for dinner, I have a nut allergy, right? Which is a real Achilles heel of mine. I can deadlift as much as I want, but I can be taken down in an instant by a single peanut. But because of that, I love chain restaurants.
Yeah.
Yusuf hates chain. Wait, doesn't you? You don't like them, do you? You like variety.
Yeah,
you get food FOMO.
It's just I get FOMO whenever you go past a new restaurant that's popped up. You like a little
ooh, I can't wait to try it.
Korean chicken. Okay, well, and then.
But what I get in those restaurants, or what I'm worried about, is an inconsistent experience. So I can say to the waiter, "Has this got nuts in?" They'll go, "Let me just." The chef's just new, so I'll go. Actually, it is all made on the same surface, and you just imagine this mess in the background where there's just like peanut flour everywhere.
Yeah.
And you think, you know what? I'm not going to bother. Go to Wagamama's, right?
They have a special sheet.
They have a process.
The man comes out.
The manager. So you go to Wagamama's, you say, "I have a nut allergy,"
or women,
or. No, we're going to get to this. A whole we don't want to get into. So the manager comes out, and they have to follow a certain process. They give you a matrix.
Good choice of words.
There's a specific process, and I get my meal nut free because it's systematized. Right? Imagine a scenario where you went into Starbucks and on Monday and you said, "I'll have a large Americano, please." And they give you Americano and it's made exactly how you want. Then you go on Tuesday and you go, "I'll have a large Americano, please." And then they give it to you, but it's got like frothy milk in and it's a bit cold.
The guy goes, "I made it my way. This is
exactly
special Americano."
And then you go in on Wednesday and you go, "I'll have a large Americano, please."
Just watch that, mate. I'll make you a coffee, right? And
it's Nescafe with semi-skim milk. And you go in on Thursday and it's an Americano, but it's got a bit of cinnamon syrup in it. And, so...
Yes, you may get one of those days a week, you might be like, "Oh, that was cracking, I really liked that." But there's a risk, and it's inconsistent.
Well, so...
Depends on how tired the barista is.
Or who the barista is.
Yeah.
Or what time the barista...
What accent he's speaking.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, actually, one of the worst things about a customer experience is inconsistency. Like, people want... you go to the barbers or the hairdressers, you want the same... You want an experience that you know what's going to happen. Like, even though a restaurant, there are variations, you still expect to go in there, be given a menu, be able to order, given your food, be able to pay and leave.
Yeah.
If that was just a complete crapshoot every time you went in, people probably wouldn't like going to restaurants. And so, online coaching, people don't really know what to expect, but they do expect consistency. One of the best ways to give a good service is that every person who comes through your program, it's not, "Oh, well, I didn't have time to write your program today, you'll get it on Tuesday. Oh, well, sorry, I forgot to send the email," or whatever. It should be automatic and instantaneous, and it should be the same for everybody.
That's such a good point about the customer experience, that actually people, when they go for anything in the service sector, they want to be cradled. They want to hand over the sense of control and let the service giver take care of it. Yeah. And so, if it is a crapshoot, they feel unsettled. Like, you go to a restaurant because you want to be waited on, literally, and you want to just be able to sit down and everything happens in order that you expect, and you can relax and you can actually speak to your friends and not have to kind of think like, "Oh, do I need to pay at the bar or do I?" Oh, what?
It's jarring.
So,
and even like Nando's, I have to pay up front for Nando's. I don't. Well,
that is jarring because it's a pattern interrupt. It's not.
It's like what? Like you have got to go to the till with the menu, and you go to the till and they go, "That'll be $8.99, please." You're like, "What?
But
what do you mean?
Got the food yet?"
Yeah.
Whereas you go to a Michelin star restaurant and it's purely designed around the experience. Yes, it's all about people think it's all about the food, but really it's the whole process. From you walk in, there's a dude with a handkerchief in his neck, and he's like, "Hello, sir. How are you?"
"Hello, sir. How can I help you?"
Would you like to try the tasting menu?
Might also be a woman.
God.
So, a Michelin star restaurant's actually a really good example, or like a really expensive restaurant, because everyone's been to a posh restaurant in their life, right? Where you go in and you're given like a course that you didn't even order.
You get a amuse-bouche,
like a compliment from the chef, and you're like, "This is brilliant!" Like, I haven't paid for it. When actually, they're not making a loss on the meal. Like, it's all been factored in. They're still comfortably making a profit from you, just because they've given you a little bowl of like salmon foam and a crumpet or something. Like, you think, "Wow, like this is fantastic." And there's a couple of times where I felt like we transitioned away from, you and I manually doing everything, like making the Word document for everyone, to thinking, okay, this is a system now. And it's when you see the odd post in our client group of like a client who'd been Like they've been onboarded. We see like a before and after photo of someone, and Yusuf and I are like, we don't even know who that is. Like we've never even spoken to that person. They're standing like with a Propane Fitness t-shirt in their hand.
And it's not like just because we didn't touch them that they somehow...
There's no need to derail. I know you like porn and stuff. You need to derail the podcast.
that they haven't got a worse service. That they've got fantastic result, and we've seen the before and after picture, and we've not interacted with them. And they're over the moon.
Well, it's an ego hit, isn't it, to think that actually removing us probably gave them a better chance of having a better experience. Because add us into it, like we're just two people with two laptops, like we're just trying our best. But that ultimately you forget to do stuff. Eventually, long enough timeline, enough clients, you'll forget to send someone their plan. You'll forget to send someone like the document they need, the link they needed. You'll forget to reply to an email.
And if you're in the UK, people are very polite, and they might not chase you for it. They just won't renew. They'll just cancel, and that's it. Like you're not going to gain their trust back
because there's nothing for them to rely on. There's nothing for them to expect.
They don't know they're supposed to even get a plan. They're just like, this service is rubbish.
This is weird. Yeah,
I paid for something.
But it's when we see like a before and after photo being posted, and it's someone who's like, guys, this has been a fantastic 12-week program or whatever, and you're like, who, like that name? I remember seeing an email pop up on a PayPal or a Stripe notification a while ago with that person's name on, but we've not touched them. And that's exactly the same as the CEO of McDonald's speaking to someone who had a brilliant, chicken McNugget the day before. Like they had nothing to do with the chicken McNugget. They made the system that built the chicken McNugget and the customer experience. And
at his level, he's never even seen the man who killed the chicken, who got the...
Yeah, he's pro level. He doesn't even know what McDonald's they were at. And I suppose that's one of the best lessons in business, is that if you cannot completely remove yourself from the delivery of your service, it's a job, not a business. And it's the same with sales. So if you have to do all the sales calls, if you have to get all the leads manually by messaging people, if you have to send everyone's plan manually, that's just a job. And when you want to go on holiday, you suddenly realize that, when you're and again, we hear about this all the time, like, oh, guys, I need some help because my 3 clients are WhatsApping me all day, and I get messages at 10 p.m. saying, can I have a donut?
Oh, sickening.
And that's not a business. It's in fact digging a grave.
You're digging a grave, you're making your quality of life poor, but also from a growth perspective, you capped your growth. You've capped it at the number of hours that you can stay awake for.
What do you think about somebody who is worried about giving a coaching service online because they feel like they aren't good enough?
So imposter syndrome.
Because I think that's another, because people are like, oh, I can't deliver coaching online because I can't handle 30 people WhatsApping me. And then probably the other objection. So the answer to that is you build a system that delivers the program.
There's people who are like, oh, I'm fine with building a system.
I'm not good enough.
I don't feel like I'm worthy to coach these people. And that's a very common thing that we get with business clients. And these are even people who have been PTs for years or have been working with people for a long time, but still have this niggling sense of like, oh, should I really be the one that's offering this?
It's because you're going up against like celebrities essentially, aren't you? Like if you're an evidence-based coach and you offer online coaching, it's suddenly you versus Eric Helms. It's you versus Mike Israetel. And you're like, whoa, like I haven't got a PhD, mate. Like
he's the professor of nutrition at California, whatever.
He did a PhD in protein. Like there's no way I'm going to be able to manage that.
So there is that. There is also that something that, in fact, this was Eric Helms that said this. People don't buy coaching; they buy coaches. And it's exactly the same as picking when you're friends with someone. Think of a friend that you have or your partner. You don't think like, oh, what? Like, I'm not worthy to be their mate because there's Prince Charles over there. And I'm sure he's an absolute laugh. Or like, there's, or like you with your girlfriend, you're like, oh, but there's
or boyfriend.
You're like, what about? Oh, but there's George Clooney over there. So
I bet he's got better banter than me.
He's much better banter than I have. So it's like, well, it doesn't matter because hopefully your partner is not interested in George Clooney or Georgina Clooney because they fell in love with you and that they like your specific quirks and factors and things that you offer them
through your marketing and sales funnel.
Done through your marketing sales funnel. So the product you offer, it could just simply be that you are a more human and human version, or you resonate more with the person who you're talking to, and you don't know who that's going to be until you put yourself out there. And yes, it is scary. The internet's a very nasty place, and people do write nasty comments and things, but not as much as you'd expect. If anything, the predominant emotion from the internet is indifference. It's not it's not hate and it's not love. It's just cold indifference that you can put something up there and worst case you get no comments. If you get someone that's like, oh, you're a dick, whatever, that's great.
That's fantastic.
You've actually managed because there will be someone on the other side that is like, I love this guy or girl. So I've got a complex now. So yeah, that's one part of it. The other aspect is that knowledge is infinitely deep. And the more you start to learn about something, as I'm sure you've experienced, the more you realise how much there is to learn, and actually, like, you're like, oh man, like I am a basic bitch here because there's so. Whereas all you have to be, as far as the client is concerned, is good enough to get their job done, good enough to get them the result they're looking for, and for that you only need to be a chapter ahead. Exactly.
If you've not seen Catch Me If You Can, it's a good film, but there's a scene in there where Frank Abagnale, I think this happened in real life, but Leonardo DiCaprio teaches an entire semester of the class that he was supposed to be a student in, and they ask him at the end, like, how on earth, he's a professional con man ultimately, but how on earth were you able to do that? He's like, well, I just read the chapter prior to the lesson, like I was just one chapter ahead. And I think there is, in fact, I got a message from someone this morning, you might not have seen it yet, but the guy was like clearly angling at, he'd responded to an ad for one of our business products, and he was like, do you check that everyone doing this is a qualified personal trainer? And I tried to answer his question, he persisted, and a very annoying person. But I think, to say everybody must have a qualification to deliver help is too extreme. I agree that people need to be competent and there should be ideally qualifications in place.
You have to be safe.
Yeah, safe. But like, does that mean that if your friend or partner advises you, asks a question on something that you have more experience in, that unless you have the best qualification,
so you're the ultimate global authority on that topic,
then you can't say anything? I think as long as you're one chapter ahead, and ideally, like you are. I think where people shouldn't enter the online fitness world is if they have zero experience, right? You should have some results. You should have some experience yourself. Ideally, you've coached someone before in the ideal world. But
with the example of the staying a chapter ahead, the only difference there is that he was a con man. He was pretending to be the professor. But you don't have to pretend to be anything that you're not. You don't have to try. Just because you know something more than your client does about something, you can say, look, I've had this experience and here's how I can help you. But know the limits of your remit, know the limits of your knowledge. And it's actually more credible, more trustworthy to say, oh, you know what? I'm actually not sure on this. I'll go and find out for you. Or I can refer you on to this person who might be able to help more. There's nothing worse than a PT who tries to offer medical advice or, steps outside and you're like, because not only do they sound like an idiot, but they're stepping into a realm that their insurance doesn't cover, for example, and the client then loses faith in them, or the worst case, they misdiagnose or they miss something that then ends up complicating and getting worse. So as long as you say, like, I can help you with your body composition. You're experiencing medical symptoms, I would recommend you see the GP, or you've got a knee pain, I'd recommend you go see a physio. And so that way you are still offering value and helping the client by being the signposter for things outside of your remit, and you still come across as the authority. You've still saved face. You've not come across as you don't have to become this omnipotent.
I think there are, and the people will get offended by this, but there are just as many examples of people who have a PT qualification who probably aren't very well equipped to help people, as there are people who don't have a PT qualification who would be a fantastic coach.
Yeah. So just the qualification alone doesn't confer that there actually would be a good coach.
So to say, like the guy's question today of like, people should have a PT qualification. It's like, well...
Oh, like we've seen people with all the letters after their name.
And they're terrible. Like there's several examples, in fact, of... like there's one guy in particular who I know really rattles our rhubarb collectively for two reasons. So he uses a lot of sort of pseudo-scientific terms and pretends to be an expert in, like he's given advice on like nutrition for autism before. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah.
He's constantly talking about metabolic processes that he just doesn't understand. So we heard all this. Yusuf went and got a medical degree to check whether he was right or not.
Turns out his gut healing protocol is not
a gut healing
sound.
protocol. He then also, I heard an episode of him talking about business advice. I went and got an accountancy qualification to check whether he was correct with that. And negligent stuff, like really, like fundamental stuff that he's making a mistake in. And so, like, we are an example of two people who have like post-uni qualifications in other things. So I've got an ACA in accountancy, which is a useful thing, really difficult to do. But if someone was like, are you an expert in business? I'd be like, no, absolutely not. Like Richard Branson isn't a chartered accountant, definitely understands more about business than me.
We should call this episode "Mount Stupid" because.
But do you understand all of medicine?
Not at all.
Well, there you go. But you're a doctor.
My penis is my medical penis is very small.
Yeah, it's just only just growing, isn't it?
This is Mount Stupid. This is exactly it. So if you might have heard of this referred to as the Dunning-Kruger effect, that is, if somebody has never played golf before and they see Tiger Woods and they're like, that looks like a piece of piss. You just take a stick, hit the ball in the hole, like that looks fine. And then they start playing golf, and they're like, oh, actually, I've realized like this is much harder than I thought. They play a bit more, they get a little better, and they're like, oh, I'm getting good at this. I think I'm a pro. But then there's a little hump where they think that they're better than they are, and then they get slightly better, and they go into the big boys field, and then they're like, oh no, I'm really...
Oh shit. So that, I suppose, is the same as you passing your degree, becoming a doctor, and then you speak to a consultant in, I don't know.
Yeah, you speak to like a consultant endocrinologist.
Like a brain surgeon. And you're like, oh my God. and there's
they
this...
look down their glasses at you and you're just like, oh.
Between like operating on one guy's brain and the other guy's brain. You're like, oh, fucking hell. Like, but that exists in everything. And I think often there are examples of people, this guy in particular, he's got a PT qualification, thinks he's the bollocks, and he's set up camp at the top of Mount Stupid, and he just doesn't quite yet realise that the things he's talking about, that he thinks he has mastery and expertise in, are far more complex than he can even begin to imagine, that he's even aware of. And so it's not, what we're saying here is not, he shouldn't be giving advice, because he absolutely, to people who are less advanced than him, he is absolutely positioned to share the lessons from what he's tried that didn't work, that did work, because everybody's just on a journey. And if you're slightly ahead on the same journey as that person, you can say, look, I've done this. Let me just share a few tips with you to help this process go a bit quicker, a bit easier, avoid the same frustrations. Where we think things get pretty serious and actually quite dangerous very quickly are when people start straying out of that, pretending to be experts in things that they aren't. I sent you this is going to get very dark very quickly. I sent you a link yesterday to a lady who has just died.
Oh, yeah.
Because she refused chemotherapy, instead opting for like natural healing solutions. And there are several coaches online who we've seen videos where they say, like,
if you're ill, you want to stay as far away from a hospital as possible. Never,
like if you have cancer, don't get chemotherapy. Go into a forest and let your body heal naturally. So that's what happens when someone's on the top of Mount Stupid and they start shooting people on the other side of Mount Stupid. That's when it becomes, people die when you start giving advice that is negligent like that. So
yeah,
that's where just don't do that. Otherwise, we will be upset and we'll come get you.
So there it is. The how to deal with imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Effectively recognize your remit. Don't worry about trying to be omniscient. Just be one chapter ahead, and be upfront, be honest with that, and your client will respect you and love you for it more. And then, in terms of delivering coaching, it's not about just because you worked harder to do something, or just because you spent more time on something in that moment doesn't mean that it's offering a better value to the customer, and that's all that they care about. And
I suppose the quickest actionable tip for that is every time you do anything in your business, try and make it the last time you do that thing. So every time you answer a question, every time you build a program, every time you send someone a par queue, think, how can I make it so that this is the last time I do this manually myself? Food for thought. We
will discuss tactics and specifics on how to do that over the coming episodes. There is hundreds, probably 200 to 600 systems that we have in the business,
I think. For the coming episodes.
For things like this in the coming episodes.
Coming.
In the episodes to come in.
You just love porn, don't you? Any time that you can mention porn. Bye.
Bye.